Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with the final of the Super Sized Jurassic World Rebirth Captivz figures. This is the Mosasaurus, and this is definitely a really cool looking figure. It's really neat to finally have a Mosasaurus in the Super Sized line, but it's also nice to see that we have a new sculpt for the Mosasaurus here. I think the sculpt, or at least I assumed the sculpt in the main line of the new Rebirth Captivz was the same that we had prior, but now looking at this, I'm thinking maybe we have a new sculpt as far as that figure goes, so I have to wait and see, I guess, once I get the actual figure in hand. We are going to move the camera up here just for a moment so we can look at all of the different pieces of this set. First of all, we have the Mosasaurus card, which looks awesome. The artwork here on the Captivz cards is always incredible. I have all of my Captivz cards up until this point in a like a card book and everything, a card album, and I'm definitely going to be putting these guys in there as well. And you can see again, it looks super cool here on the back of the card. And also, as you can see, you can actually take all three of the cards and put them together for kind of like a really cool little image here on the back. So definitely a fun little aspect about actually acquiring all three of these figures. And then you, of course, also have the little pamphlet that shows you what you have in the line, which we've already taken a look at, as well as the stickers, which, again, are the same stickers we had previously. There aren't any different stickers, but the stickers that are included are awesome. I love those stickers. So now, as far as our Mosasaurus goes, you can see, starting here in the head sculpt, even though it does look extremely similar to the older Mosasaurus, you can instantaneously see that this is definitely a different sculpt. The head sculpt feels quite different from the older one, and it also has a lot better fine detail. You can take notice to the scales looking really gorgeous here in the face and moving back into the body. We have a yellow eye painted with a black pupil. It looks really nice as well. Definitely, well, that one's not perfectly placed. The other side was pretty much perfectly placed, but still looking pretty good, especially if you move back just a hair. We can see the teeth sculpted out. A little tiny bit of sloppiness as far as the paintwork goes, but that's very minor. Overall, I think they look quite nice. They also have kind of a genuine sharp look, which is a huge plus. Of course, we have the mouth wide open for the Mosasaurus like you saw in the previous version as well, but inside the mouth, not only do we see some really impressive fine detail in here, you can also see that extra row of teeth in there on top of everything. Of course, these figures are the pop and lock, so you can still sort of articulate them as far as a swivel area goes in both the tail and the neck, because that's how you pop them together. We have some nice variation of color here, also a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. I don't remember if I said that or not, but we have some nice variation of color with different shades of greens. You can see kind of like a darker bluish green for the upper side, a little bit more of a brighter, more vibrant green as you move down into the side, and then a very bright white here on the underside of the Mosasaurus. I also love the really nice paintwork here of the undersides of the flippers with that cool kind of bluish sort of a tone that we have there. You can also see the Jurassic logo on the underbelly, as well as some pretty decent fine detail down here, kind of like creasing as you move back, but then at some point here you can see it basically like halfway through or 3/4 of the way through the underside transitions back to a scale sort of a look. The Mosasaurus is sculpted in kind of like an upward position where it looks like it's swimming up to grab something to eat. We can see the scales looking really nice, really vibrant on the figure as you move through. We can also see all of the bumpy sort of like osteoderm-like scales moving along the top of the Mosasaurus, just like we see on the Mattel version. As you move back, you can see the rear flippers as well look really good. Again, the scales look even very impressive on those tiny little flippers, and again, the nice paintwork with the variations of colors. You can see the bluish tones on the upper sides of the flippers as well, which is definitely, again, a really nice touch. And as you lead out here into the tail, you can see the scales continue to look so good on this figure. And that was one of the things that really impressed me just looking at the back of the other pamphlet, and as well as the back of the eggs, because it does show the all three figures on the back of the eggs. But that was one thing that really impressed me, was the scale detail really popped on the Mosasaurus that I saw on there, and that was one of the things I was really looking forward to when I actually acquired this one, was seeing how good the scales and the skin texture looks, and it does look really nice. And as you lead out, you can see the tail leads up and then curves, and we also have all three of the different tones of color as you lead out here into the tail of the Mosasaurus. Pretty much the same thing as you move to the other side. Take a look at it from over here, but of course the Mosasaurus is kind of leading away from us now, so again, a little bit of a different position, but overall I don't think it's different enough to cause any sort of a massive difference as far as the visual goes from one side to the other. But I'm really happy to see that they did resculpt the Mosasaurus to give us more of like the Rebirth style version. I kind of wish they had done that with the T-Rex as well, but again, we have it with the Mosasaurus and the Spinosaurus at the very least, so definitely really cool. As far as a size goes for this figure, you are looking at about just shy of 6 inches, or around 15 centimeters, pretty much on the dot, and then to the top of the snout about 2 inches, or a little over 5 centimeters, to the top of the tail fin there about 2¼ inches, or about 6 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our captive super-sized Mosasaurus, and obviously, even though they are said to be super-sized, they're still fairly small. But in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to other captives, they are definitely super-sized because the standard captives are a lot smaller. Here is a size comparison between the smaller version of the Rebirth Mosasaurus compared to the larger version, the super-sized version, and you can very clearly see that the sculpt, although looking very similar, is definitely different. You can overall see a very different design as far as like the almost armored look on this one, kind of replicating like the classic Jurassic World Mosasaurus compared to the way that this one looks. And again, even the skin texture looks quite a bit different. Same color scheme that they've given both of them, but obviously the super-sized version is definitely a different sculpt. And then here we have one shot with all 3 of the different super-sized captives for Jurassic World Rebirth, showing you that again, we've got some pretty awesome figures this time around. I absolutely adore the Spino and the Mosasaurus. The T-Rex is really cool as well. I just wish it was the newer version, but still very nicely done. So overall, absolutely epic line of super-sized figures for Rebirth so far. So this brand new Toymonster International Captivz Super-Sized Mosasaurus is a pretty darn nice figure, and I would absolutely say is the best version of a Mosasaurus released by Captivz so far. The sculpt is also the best when it comes to the fine detail that I've seen coming from Captivz so far. The scale, detail, and skin texture just jumps off of the sculpt of this one, looking very reptilian, which is nice. The coloration as well is pretty decently done. I don't know if it perfectly replicates the Mosasaurus from Rebirth, because I don't know that we've really had the best visual of it quite yet to really get a good feel for how the colors look. And obviously you can see the colors of this one looks quite different from the Mattel versions, so I'm not really too sure who's closer here, but I can say that the paint apps on this do look really cool. They definitely look natural and lifelike as far as what I would expect to see on a species like this, and is pretty decently applied on top of everything. The sculpt is also very cool as far as the pose goes. You again have a nice little action pose for the Mosasaurus, which is something that makes it fun to kind of display and show off. I wish the teeth on the inside of the mouth were painted, but that's pretty much the only minor nitpick that I can find with this one. Other than that, I would say it's an absolutely epic release, again, from the Captivz line. So if you are interested, head to your local Walmart. You can grab it there. Again, they are surprise eggs, so there's no real way to tell exactly what figure is in what egg, but hopefully you'll be able to score this one if you want it. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.